One of my favorite places to hang out when we go to Israel is En Gedi, the desert places where David ran from Saul and hid in the caves. And usually you would get a hotel that backs onto the mountainous range where David would have hid and overlooks the Dead Sea, the lowest place on planet Earth. It's an amazing scene because it hasn't really changed a whole lot in a couple of millennia. So it doesn't take much to imagine David kind of running along the mountain ridges. And so you think about this. Here's David, who is a young, ruddy shepherd boy, come warrior king now. He's anointed king of Israel by Samuel the prophet. Like a woohoo! What a great day that would have been. In front of all his brothers, in front of his dad. They didn't really believe it, but they didn't believe in him. But whoa, yeah, baby, anointed king. But then, kind of like, what could be better than that? And then he turns out that David immediately spent like 13 years, some reports say, in these desert places, in and out of the wadis and the oasis, in and out of the caves, scrambling around from King Saul, who had a hate on for him. And man, you can imagine David just really kind of wondering about all this. Like, was Samuel right? Did maybe he miss it? He's kind of getting old. Maybe he just missed the word of the Lord that time. Was that really a word of the Lord? And if it is, then why is all this stuff happening to me? What's this going on in my life? Like, does that sound familiar at all? This is a good example of the way that God works in our lives. He speaks a word over us, like he spoke a word over David, and then he takes his time to shape us into the very word that he spoke over us. That can take a while. He builds character in us to carry the weight of the gifts that he's given us, and he doesn't want David to fail as king. And so he teaches him things that in the wilderness that's the only place he could have learned it, maybe, that would never could have learned it in other places, I guess. So like in the caves, David learns how to fight. David learns how to survive. He learns how to find water in unusual places and food and shelter, not just for himself, but for hundreds of people. David learned about brotherhood and about fellowship and camaraderie, and he develops an amazing group of mighty men out of those. They came to him they were distraught, they were discontent, and they were in debt. That's what it says in 1 Chronicles 15. As we see that David, in essence, really learned how to lead in the toughest part of his life. He learned how to behave in the cave. Many times in our lives, we go through things, we're in the cave, so to speak. Like, do we behave as we should? Sometimes we just need to strengthen ourselves in the Lord, like David learned to do, 1 Samuel 30, verse 6. Maybe we need a drink of water. We need to drink some of that living water and learn where it's to be found. Jesus said, if anyone is thirsty, let him come to me and drink of me. I'll give him living water that shall be like flowing out of his innermost being. You know how to get to that water? Sometimes we need to know where to go to look for the water, the living water, especially in the dry places, in the thirsty lands. John 7:37-38 says, whoever believes in me, out of his innermost being will flow rivers of living water. And you know what? Some of David's most amazing psalms were written in the caves, written in the desert places. How about Psalm 63 when he says, "Oh God, you are my God. Earnestly I seek you. My soul thirsts for you. My flesh faints for you as in a dry and weary land where there's no water." I mean, he knows what this is about. And he goes, "See, I have looked upon you in the sanctuary, beheld your power and your glory. Because your steadfast love is better than life, I will lift up my hands in your name. I will praise you. My lips will praise you. So I will bless you as long as I live. In your name, I will lift up my hands. My soul will be satisfied as with the richest of fare. My mouth will praise you with joyful lips, even in the desert. When I remember you upon my bed and I meditate upon you in the watches of the night. for you have been my help. In the shadow of your wings, I will sing for joy. My soul clings to you. Your right hand upholds me. And he goes on. He knows what it's like to be in hard places and yet still praise. Still let the lips be a sacrifice of praise off the lips. So next time you feel like you're being pursued by the enemy and you're stuck in a cave and you can't get out and you're isolated and cave-like place, remember that God is with you even there, even then and there, and that he's building something in you for a greater day. He's building character in you, perseverance in you, hope in you, so that in the day when real trial does come, your faith is going to stand. And when you've done everything to stand, you'll still be standing. And in all of that will be for the glory of God, the glory of his great name. Like, we want to do that. We want to live that way. We want to learn how to behave in the cave. So we want to outwit, outlast, and outsmart our enemy, the devil. Think on that. Think on that. Selah.